Heading into this upcoming NBA season, everybody is talking about one of the most hyped rookies that we've ever seen in the league, Victor Wembanyama. The jury is still out on whether or not this kid will ultimately live up to the hype, but at the very least, it's got me wondering who are some of the most hyped players in NBA history who ultimately fell short of the lofty expectations. This is not intended to be a ranked list, or even a list that contains all players who fit this category. It's simply my list of players who stand out to me on this topic, and please feel free to make your own suggestions in the comments below. First off, Harold Miner. This 6'5" shooting guard was selected with the 12th overall pick, and although he had some hype going into the draft, that excitement would only continue to grow throughout his rookie season. At the time he was drafted, Michael Jordan was late enough in his basketball career that the league started thinking about the appeal of its product after MJ hypothetically retired. Due to this, the league and the media were desperate to find a successor to MJ, a player who had the athleticism and the skills to be the future face of the league. At least in theory, Miner seemed to fit that mold. He had the build, the ability to play above the rim, and he even had the bald head. Whether it was fair or not, he was one of the very first players to receive the label of the next Michael Jordan. The comparison went so far that he even earned the nickname Baby Jordan. Unsurprisingly, the shoes ended up being way too big for him to fill. Miner didn't end up being the jump shooter that Jordan was, and although the styles were similar, the level of talent was not. Add in several knee injuries to the early years of his career, and it wasn't very long before he was finding it difficult to simply retain a roster spot. He only played a total of 4 seasons in the NBA before he finally called it quits at just the age of 24. At the end of the day, he shouldn't receive many criticisms because the truth is the comparisons were never really warranted in the first place. Next on the list is Greg Oden. Honestly, I debated whether or not it was fair to include him on my list, because unlike most other players in this video, Oden never really had a chance to play an extended period of time before the injuries occurred. In one of the most regrettable decisions in basketball history, the Portland Trail Blazers took this 7-footer with the first overall pick in the 2007 NBA Draft. The player they passed up was the future NBA champion and MVP Kevin Durant, who ended up going to the Sonics with the 2nd pick. In hindsight, this seems like quite the boneheaded decision, but I remember the general consensus in 2007, and many people felt like Oden was the kind of player you just couldn't pass up, and some were even predicting that he was going to be one of the all-time great NBA centers. Personally, I don't know if he ever had that kind of trajectory, even if the injuries never occurred. But thanks to his numerous feet and knee issues, that will remain a mystery to us all forever. Next up, Michael Beasley. This 6'9" power forward was a strong scoring monster in college. He was also a solid stretch 4, as he was a highly coveted prospect for his fantastic three-point shooting. Heading into the 2008 NBA Draft, some people expected the Chicago Bulls to pick him with the 1st overall pick, but instead, that ended up being Derrick Rose. At the time, some analysts were even predicting that Chicago would end up regretting their decision to go with Rose instead of Beasley. Now, I wouldn't say he was a bust by any means, as he had a decent length to his career and actually served as a quality role player for some time. At his best in 2011, he averaged 19 points and 6 rebounds on 45% shooting. But what you need to understand is that this man had superstar potential in the eyes of the media and in the eyes of NBA scouts. So even with his decent production, he was viewed as a player who fell tremendously short of the high expectations heading into the league. Next on the list is Andrew Wiggins. Obviously, as an active player who's in his late 20s, you guys all know who this guy is. But in the case of some younger fans, some of you don't realize just how hyped this guy was heading into his NBA career. People were going absolutely insane with the comparisons, saying audacious things like he was a blend between LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. Due to the tremendous hype, he was selected with the 1st overall pick in the 2014 NBA Draft by the Cavs. Many people thought he had the potential to be the face of the franchise, and would be the one to take the torch from LeBron James after he eventually retired. Well, you guys all know how it goes with LeBron-led teams. Cleveland felt like they were in a position to win immediately with Kyrie Irving and LeBron on the roster. So instead of hanging on to Wiggins, they traded him to Minnesota for Kevin Love. I remember in 2014, I had a buddy who said that Cleveland would regret trading Wiggins for the rest of their lives. Seeing how they went on to win the 2016 NBA championship with Love on the roster, my buddy's opinion seems comical in hindsight, but he was far from alone with that opinion. The comparison I would make is that people were hyping up Wiggins in the same way they hyped up Jason Tatum in recent years. Unfortunately, Wiggins' drive and work ethic was being highly scrutinized during his first few seasons in the league, and at the end of the day, he's only ended up developing into a borderline all-star at best. Last on the list is Lonzo Ball. As a Lakers fan, this one stings quite deep. With his tremendous confidence, with his solid passing ability, and with his quality shooting in college, people were expecting this guy to be the next major superstar in the NBA. Obviously, his father played a role in that, as he was constantly hyping up his son as if he was going to be the greatest player of all time. Even the famous NBA YouTuber and a huge inspiration for my channel, Mike Korzemba, went as far as calling him Steph Curry with a 40-inch vertical leap. Obviously, a player with that kind of ability would take the NBA by storm. Sadly, Lonzo ended up being nowhere close to where people were projecting him to be. Not only did he not have the shooting ability of Steph Curry, but he didn't even have the shooting ability of the average NBA player, as people were calling him the Tim Tebow of the NBA with a massive hitch in his jump shot. As you all know, we as the basketball community eventually tempered our expectations, and Lonzo started to become an appreciated asset with his quality court vision and his passing ability. Tragically, we'll have to wait to see if those abilities will ever make a return to the court due to his degenerative knee issue. So what do you guys think? I realize there are many players who could have been on this list as well, but they're not. I'll leave it up to you guys to put those players in the comment section below. Speaking of which one of those players that I didn't mention do you think is the greatest example of a player not living up to the hype? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.